No, I'd get like 300 a month.
Hey, is that stuff from Rainer Rubin okay, or did you read all that stuff?
It's in Mike Magnolia. Basically back and forth.
They're trying to fix it. They really are. It's never.
I wanted to try to get that done the last meeting.
Pretty long list of things they're trying to
Page
fix.
2.
That's when a whole
Feels like
bunch
nothing
of
gets
gotta
done.
cut the
Because
check.
the
I
resolution.
said there's a long list,
Yeah.
Bobby, that they're trying to fix.
Good evening. Time
Recording
being
in
7
progress.
o'clock. I call the May 23rd, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the information provided below. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. In order to participate, you need to log into the Zoom webinar, and that ID is 842-2017-6529#. Once again, the Zoom webinar ID is 842-2017-6529#. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Okay, upcoming town-sponsored events. Once again, the Town of Franklin Memorial Day Parade will be held Monday, May 27th at 10:30 a.m. The parade will start at Dean College and end at the intersection of Beaver and Union Streets. This will be followed by the Town Commons ceremony at 12 noon. Franklin Health Department will be hosting the Spring Fair on Wednesday, June 5th at the Franklin Public Library from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Enjoy local vendors, face painting, and a petting zoo, raffles, and much more. Okay. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizen comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda other than Mr. Sherlock? Please.
Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia Drive, Community Information Director for Franklin Matters, Franklin Public Radio. One other item to the community events that we can add to the calendar before your next meeting. Saturday, June 1st, Porch Fest. from noon to 6. 54 bands or performers from noon to 6. It's going to be wild. The studio is trying to figure out exactly how we can record those.
It's going to be a fun day.
It's going to be a fun event. Fun event, of course. Cultural event. It's all music. It's fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? No. Okay, with that, we'll move on to public hearings, and I will declare the public hearing on the FY 2025 Town Council annual operating budget hearing open. And last night, those of you who were with us into the wee hours or the very late hours of the day and evening, we went through every single line item last night. We were fortunate or unfortunate, depending upon how you looked at the hour. We were able to get through the entire budget last night. So what I'd like to do tonight is just ask the council members if there are any council members that have any questions or comments on the budget. Any department or any questions or comments. Councilor Frangillo.
Just a brief comment, if I may, or, well, brief for me.
That's brief for
You're
you.
beating my records.
Yeah. I mean,
I think you're done then.
Go ahead.
first of all, gratitude for everyone that's, all the effort that goes into this budget. The reason why we're most likely going to, vote the budget as is because it's been months and months of a really strong relationship between a whole bunch of different parties, our department heads, town administrator, finance committee that, spends hours on going through line item by line item to present a document that's in pretty top shape. In addition to the hours that we've put in discussing with the school committee on some joint budget. So, I think there's times where it's like, oh, this is the most important thing you do. Why are we just approving as is? Well, this is a much longer conversation than just the past few minutes. Okay, and yeah, a lot of appreciation for everyone that has a hand in that. The one comment that came up yesterday that has come up a few times that just felt helpful to possibly name or talk about was this idea of wants versus needs. And I think it's easy to think about those things as black and white. But we know that, if you have a community that just has, enough police and fire and teachers in the buildings and nothing more, just, enough dirt roads to get everyone, that is not a sustainable place because people don't want to live there, right? We get all of our money from the town having an overall value. And so there are things that in isolation might be unclear, where their wants versus needs. I'll talk about the one that came up, but things like turf fields and signs to the parking lots and the cultural festival and Frankie and Ben, where do these fall in wants versus needs? All of these contribute to the overall value of the community, right? The signs that point us to a parking lot help people come in. That increases local receipts. It's a much more holistic ecosystem. The one that happened to be being discussed was sports for students, and I think that's a helpful one to think through. Where I'm on the board of directors at the Safe Coalition, and the number one reason, correlation anecdotally, why we hear kids start to get into substance abuse and other dangerous behaviors so many of them. Literally just this week, she said, "Oh, it often comes down to the time where parents could no longer take them to sports or activities after school." Right? So small decisions like offering after-school programs might have major ramifications on people's lives. That leads to public emergency expenditures, leads to worsening student outcomes. All of this is part of what makes the community is not as simple as black or white wants and needs. So the fact of the matter is these pieces. The services that we've all come to enjoy that we need to retain our own value, we're no longer able to afford those services. And so we have to come to the point where, are we going to grow the pot at still a lower tax rate than our neighboring communities, or are we willing to accept marginally reduced services, at risk of lowering the overall town value and impacting our future ability to provide services. So just wanted to talk through that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other questions or comments from councilors? Is there any questions or comments from anyone in council chambers? Okay, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that has a question or comment before I close the public hearing on the FY25 annual budget? Seeing none. Jamie, any remarks in closing? Again, I'll just piggyback on what Councilor Frangillo just said. I just want to thank everybody involved in putting the work into our annual budget. People don't always understand. This process starts in October and November of the prior year, and we're still working on it in May. And it's just such an enormous undertaking, and I just can't thank our administrative team, the school administrative team, our department heads, our administrators in the school side. I just think, the work that goes in, just can't thank you enough. And I know this isn't the last time that we're going to be looking at this budget. I think we all are very much aware of that. So with that said, and again, those that aren't watching Jamie, please echo our thoughts and thanks to the entire team on both the municipal part as well as the school part. I would declare the public hearing on the FY25 annual budget closed. Okay, we will now move on to legislation for action. The first is Resolution 24-28, adoption of the FY 2025 budget. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-28, adoption of fiscal year 2025 budget, whereas the Town Council conducted 2 public hearings on the fiscal year 2025 budget on May 22nd, 2024, and May 23rd, 2024, after due notice was given in the Milford Daily News, and whereas the Finance Committee issued printed recommendations with copies made available at each public hearing, and whereas the Town Council considered the FY 2025 budget on a departmental basis and by vote so determined the size of the appropriations for each department on May 23rd, 2024. Now, therefore, be it moved and voted to adopt said general fund budget, water enterprise fund budget, sewer enterprise fund budget, solid waste enterprise fund budget, and stormwater enterprise fund budget as set out in fiscal year 2025 voting document, with a total appropriation of $157,700,689, of which $139,175,909 is to be raised and appropriated. $1,507,009 transferred from fiscal year 24 free cash, and the balance transferred from enterprise funds revenues to be appropriated as follows. Water fees, enterprise fund, $7,132,135. Sewer fees, enterprise fund, $5,868,031. Solid waste fees, enterprise fund, $2,917,949. Stormwater fees, enterprise fund, $1,099,656. For a total enterprise fund of $17,017,771. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-28.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie, anything to add?
Not this time. I've talked about it too much. This is my one.
Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-28. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. Okay, moving on. Resolution 24-29, MEC stabilization account transfer to MEC appropriation FY '25. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2429, appropriation from MEC stabilization of account transfer to MEC appropriation fiscal year 2025. Total amount requested, $500,000. The purpose is to transfer from the MEC stabilization fund to the general fund for fiscal year 25. Transfer from MEC general fund appropriation. The reasons: to fully fund the fiscal 25 appropriation. The source is the MEC stabilization account for the total amount of $500,000. Motion: be it moved and voted by the town council that the sum of $500,000 be transferred from MEC stabilization fund to the MEC general fund appropriation for fiscal year 25. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-29.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, quickly, Mr. Chairman, through you to the council. This is, as Councilor Pellegrini asked last night about the MEC Regional Dispatch Center, this is a $500,000 addition to the budget. Next year it will be half that. The year after that it'll be half that until the stabilization fund is drained in a few years to make up and kind of phase in the full assessment. You know, you never know, maybe we'll be eligible for another grant, we'll be able to save more money, but for right now, this is critical vote to balance the entire budget.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-29. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, moving on, Resolution 24-30, salary schedule, full-time elected officials. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-30, salary schedule for full-time elected official. A resolution amending Appendix A, Chapter 4 of the Code of Town of Franklin entitled Salary Schedules, Full-Time Elected Official, be resolved by the Franklin Town Council that Appendix A, Salary Schedules, Full-Time Elected Officials, Chapter 4 of the Code of Town of Franklin is amended as follows. Appendix A, Salary Schedule, Full-Time Elected Official, Office, Town Clerk. Incumbent salary was $108,650. FY25 salary of $111,366. This resolution is effective for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2024. Finance Committee action meeting was a unanimous vote, sir.
Move resolution 24-30.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Just a pretty straightforward vote. The salary increase is at the 2.5% number that all the other municipal employees are getting.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-30. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Resolution 24-31, expenditure limits for FY 2025 on departmental revolving funds established by Franklin Town Code, Chapter 73, as provided in Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53E and a half, as amended. Clerk will read the resolution.
I think you read most of it already.
I was trying to give you a break.
That was good. I'll read it anyways. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 24-31, expenditure limits for fiscal year 2025 on departmental revolving funds established by Franklin Town Code, Chapter 73, as provided, Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53E and a half, as amended. Whereas the Franklin Town Council has adopted a bylaw establishing a chapter of the Franklin Town Code, Chapter 73, departmental revolving funds, as provided in Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53 and a half, as amended by Chapter 218 of Legislative Acts of 2016. And whereas Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53 and a half, is amended, further provides that the municipality's legislative body shall annually set the expenditure limit for each revolving fund established under the local bylaw. Now, therefore be it moved and voted that the Franklin Town Council hereby sets the expenditure limit for each revolving fund established under the Franklin Town Code, Chapter 73, Departmental Revolving Funds, for fiscal year 2025 as follows. Section 5B, Senior Center Activities Program, $125,000. Section 5C, Senior Center Supportive Day Program, $100,000. Section 5D, Use of Facilities Account, $100,000. Section 5E, Fire Department Rescue Training Program, $10,000. And Section 5F, Community Policing Programs, $25,000. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-31.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through Mr. Chairman, this is the set of revolving funds. None of these are new. These are all the ones that have been established, and the limits have been the same. They have been for a long time, but good old Mass General Law requires you to approve them every year as part of the budget. So, fairly routine resolution.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-31. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Resolution 24-32, creation of Snow and Ice Stabilization Fund as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, and transfer of funds thereto. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-32, creation of Snow and Ice Stabilization Fund as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, and transfers of funds thereto. Whereas General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B authorizes a municipality to create a stabilization fund for a specified purpose and to appropriate amounts thereto, and whereas the Town of Franklin has need for a special purpose stabilization fund to allow it to accumulate funds to pay the expenses related to snow and ice removal and treatment. And whereas the Town of Franklin wishes to transfer $521,222 from the remaining fiscal year 24 snow and ice appropriation, now therefore be it voted by the Franklin Town Council that 1, as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, Section B, a special purpose stabilization fund to be known as the Snow and Ice Stabilization Fund is hereby created, and the purpose for this said stabilization fund shall be to accumulate funds to pay the expenses related to snow and ice removal and treatment, and 2, the sum of $521,222 is hereby transferred from the remaining FY24 snow and ice appropriation, and this resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-32.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is a new stabilization fund proposal. The $521,000 and change that's being proposed to put into the fund is the excess snow and ice money from this year's operating budget. I think we'd all love to believe it'll never snow again, but that's probably not likely. But this is a great safety net. As folks remember, we used to use and hold free cash every year. So now that free cash is freed up, for additional capital appropriations for schools and town departments, which is good, but just in case, we're gonna try to use excess snow and ice money over time, if there is any, to really grow this fund. The council will consider the financial policies that were approved by the finance committee at their next, actually the June 26th meeting, in which the proposal is to maintain $1 million in emergency funds for snow and ice removal. And I'll end off by saying, this account does accrue interest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council?
It's not gonna snow no more, don't worry about it. No more
Bobby
snow.
says it's not
No
snow.
more snow, global warming.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, just to the town administrator. Point of clarification, the free cash account, since the funds are being moved into a new account for snow and ice, are we by law, I know it seems like an odd question, but are we actually required to maintain X amount of money in free cash?
Nope.
We're not, okay.
Nope.
So it's not really gonna draw us down to anything that's gonna put us in any state requirement, like all of the other crazy state requirements. that we
There's
have.
no state requirements on free cash.
Okay.
That's one of the few positives, for sure. Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor
you.
Jones. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-32. Again, the majority votes required.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds, I'm sorry.
Because it's being created.
It's being created, two-thirds. Okay, a two-thirds majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, Resolution 24-33, creation of property acquisition stabilization fund as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, and transfer of funds thereto. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-33, creation of real property acquisition stabilization fund as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, subsection 5B, and transfer funds thereto. Whereas General Law, Chapter 40, Section B authorizes a municipality to create a stabilization fund for a specified purpose and to appropriate amounts thereto, and whereas the town of Franklin has a need for a special purpose stabilization fund to allow it to accumulate funds to be used for the purposes of real property acquisition, and whereas the town of Franklin wishes to transfer $200,000 from free cash into this fund. Now therefore be it voted by the Franklin Town Council that one, as authorized by General Law, Chapter 40, Section B, a special purpose stabilization fund to be known as Real Property Acquisition Stabilization Fund is hereby created. And the purpose of said stabilization fund shall be to accumulate funds to be used for the purposes of real property acquisitions. 2, the sum of $200,000 is hereby transferred from free cash. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-33.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through Mr. Chairman, to the council, this is, again, another proposed new stabilization account. Yesterday, it was approved unanimously by the Capital Committee, Subcommittee, chaired by Councilor Pellegrini. We heard last night the fire chief say at some point down the road, there might be a north station needed, or at least some sort of substation. We've talked as an arts center as a community. The police station site may or may not be settled. I think it will be, but in leading up to this, there was obviously a lot of, with land dwindling in Franklin, there's no avenue to pay for property if we needed something other than borrowed. And so I think the Capital Committee and the Finance Committee saw this as a positive step. And to Councilor Cormier-Ledger's question last night, each year we may get to a place where maybe we deposit just a small amount of free cash, like a savings bank, just like OPEB, and just put a little more away in case we need a down payment, with cash payment for something. Just gives the town a little bit of flexibility to set this up in the future. There was also one other good question last night regarding Davis Thayer, just for others that are listening. Great question. If, just like the old Pond Street sewer beds that folks remember, if you sell public property like that, including the school, it's very limited by state law. You cannot just go spend it on the operating budget or maintenance or other things. It's pretty much limited to additional land acquisition. So this would mirror something like that, like we have with the Pond Street sewer beds, which ended up saving a lot of interest. About $1.5 million went toward Maple Hill's purchase before CPA, just before CPA, or right after CPA was enacted. And so that ended up actually saving the taxpayers a lot of money by having that cash on hand. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-33. Again, a two-thirds majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Moving on, Resolution 24-26. Community Preservation Fund Annual Appropriations and Reservations. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-26, Community Preservation Fund Annual Appropriation and Reservations. Appropriation from the fiscal year 2025 estimated revenues for administrative expenses, $86,133. Reserve accounts from FY25 estimated revenues for Historic Preservation Reserve, $172,266. From FY25 estimated revenues for Community Housing Reserve, $172,266. From FY25 estimated revenues for Open Space and Recreation, $1,268,068. From FY25 estimated revenues for Budgeted Reserve, $22,922. Total amount requested, $1,722,655. The purpose, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Franklin Community Preservation Committee for required reserve accounts and administrative expenses and other expenses in fiscal year 2025, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Motion. Be it moved and voted by the town council that the sum of $1,722,655 be appropriated or reserved as indicated above in FY 2025 from the Community Preservation Fund annual reserves in the amounts recommended by the Franklin Community Preservation Committee. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-26.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is not the resolution for the slate of projects that are proposed. That's the next one. This is just the baseline budget with the 10% categories for the annual anticipated revenues. It has the 5% for the administrative expenses, in addition to the additional 10% qualifications down. You'll notice the Open Space and Recreation Reserve is the largest this year. The slate of projects are heavy on that category this year. You'll see them in the next resolution. I would also just mention really quickly, the bummer is due to the real estate market, the Community Preservation Coalition is anticipating a max match of 14.4%. This budget right here actually is a little more conservative and assumes a 10% match. This past year, we were short on the match just a tiny bit, so we're anticipating even that 14% number may not actually get there. I would argue when the legislative delegation is here for their annual visit in August, this might be a topic of conversation. In the past, the legislature has found money to bump that match up when there's been real estate, kind of peaks and valleys. I think this is the lowest match the state has ever had in 24 years of CPA. So 23 years of CPA. So that tells you another marker on the real estate market. It's frozen because it's funded from real estate transactions, and real estate transactions just are not happening, and so therefore there's no revenue. So I think it's an item we might want to bring up with our legislators to focus on maybe in next year's budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the town administrator. Jamie, the $86,133 for admin, is that similar to the conversation we had last night with DPW where that kind of gets sprinkled to a lot of different departments that kind of have their hands in this, or does that offset a particular person's salary?
It does none of the above.
Okay.
It just sits there. So one example would be where we've used some of the admin expenses, or where we could, is like if there was an open space purchase available and you needed to do an appraisal, you could take it out of that. You know, it's just, you know, we pay the CPA member coalition dues out of that account.
Okay.
And so really, it's at the discretion of whether there's administrative, you know, projects that need to happen within CPA. If money isn't used, which we have never even come close to using all the money in that account, it just goes right back automatically into the budgeted reserve. The finance director just transitions that money after the end of the fiscal year and goes into the reserve. Speaking of the reserve, which isn't on the resolution, but we gave an update at the CPA meeting a couple weeks ago, there is 2.3 million additional monies in the budgeted reserve that are not being used as part of this budget. So the Community Preservation Act has also been able to be there for that, which is good to have in the bank.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pellegrini?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
How much is in the bank?
No, and when it was being used.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Makes sense.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-26. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Resolution 24-27, FY 25 Community Preservation Appropriation of Funds Capital. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is 24-27, appropriation FY 25 Community Preservation Appropriation of Funds Capital. Total amount requested $1,754,058. The purpose is to appropriate from the Community Preservation available funds for the following amounts, as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for community preservation projects in fiscal year 2025, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. I'll read the source, then its purpose, and then the total amount. Historic Preservation Reserve, rehab Old South Church, $100,000. Community Housing Reserve, 237 Pleasant Street, affordable housing. Total amount, $360,990. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, King Street Memorial Park, Phase 1, $500,000. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, Smith's Farm Master Plan, $100,000. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, Maple Hill Master Plan, $100,000. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, Maple Hill Principal, $150,000. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, Maple Hill Interest, $110,318. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, Schmitz Farm Principal, $180,000. Open Space and Recreation Reserve for Schmitz Farm Interest, $152,750, for a total of $1,754,058. And the Community Preservation Committee was unanimous, as well as the Finance Committee. Yep, I'm not done.
He's not done.
Motion be it moved and voted by the town council that the sum of $1,754,058 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Reserve in the amounts for the projects indicated above in fiscal year 2025, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-27.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through Mr. Chairman, so this was the slate of projects approved by the Community Preservation Committee 2 weeks ago. A lot of good stuff in there. I'm happy to answer any questions on any of the projects. I won't describe them all. They're all in the Community Preservation packet that was online a couple weeks ago. I think a couple to note, I mean, obviously the open space stuff people are familiar with, but the rehab of the Old South Church, the $100,000, will go into the preservation restriction. And that should be on your June 5th meeting. And once you approve the preservation restriction, and I don't know how long it takes for the mail to get to the state for them to sign it, but after they sign the preservation restriction, from my understanding, Habitat, who was at the CPC meeting, believes that then they can start getting to work on the home later on this year. So that's really great news. And then the 237 Pleasant Street housing. People did have a lot of good questions about that. Community builders did come to the preservation meeting as well. And that's really 2 years worth of 10% allocations. In my view, that housing project, if all the housing stuff we've talked about as a community, if there's one project that is actually going to solve some of the problem that we're all really upset about, the rent is too damn high, the housing prices are too damn high, this is the project that's actually gonna make a difference for working class people. This is a middle class housing project, which is very rare. This appropriation is an enormous lead for the applicant with the state to be able to get their tax credits and federal and state subsidies. And John Harding came to the meeting to validate a commitment like this will really put them on the roadmap with the state. And, you know, maybe not to the top of the line, right? But certainly bump way ahead of other applicants to be able to be competitive for those monies. And so that's also a really exciting one. And then obviously the King Street Memorial Park. I am nervous a little bit about the timing of this, but this is supposed to be phase one. With interest rates being so high, we would have normally in a zero interest rate environment probably borrowed the money to do the entire renovation. But this is going to do the underground work to be able to try to get the lights hooked up and also do the base for what will eventually be the new concession stand down to replace the one that's there now. So King Street's got a long way to go, but I know that a lot of people in town, particularly who do sports, have been pushing for years. I know a few of you, just a few of you have been lobbied by them. I mean, I can't make a commitment that it's going to be ready for this fall. There's just so much on the plate, but we're giving it our best shot. So that's a couple of the highlights, obviously, and you know all about the open space stuff. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Pellegrini?
Yes, for the 237 Pleasant Street, are all of those units going to be affordable?
100%.
100%?
30, yeah, all of them will be, all 60. They'll all go on our 40B percentage. And so that's
my
it.
next question.
Oh yeah, that's a huge deal, because we're at 10.8%, and with market rate units going in, you never know when that denominator will flip. And those will all be affordable. And I believe they're at 30, 40, and 50% of area-wide median income. So even when we talk about 80% of the area-wide median income, right, Councilor DeLoco? We still go, I can't afford that.
No, well, that's what that was my question.
Yeah, so this is, you know, some people are gonna say, oh, well, that's lower income housing. I beg to differ.
No,
Based on our median household values, which by the way, just today it was announced, the average selling price for a home in Massachusetts has hit $950,000 per house, third highest in the country, behind Manhattan and downtown San Francisco, which also projects by June and July, you're gonna hit 7 digits in this state with the average house price of $1 million. Wow. So when you talk about 30, 40%, 50% area-wide median income, you know, you're talking about a family that's got a job of $65,000. Those are our employees, quite frankly. Those are working class families now. Those are minimum wage employees that might actually be able to find a place to live in Franklin. And I mean, how do you not support St. John's Church, you know, and being able to say, it's the only example I can think recently in this community or in the area that said, we're gonna forego some profit because we're gonna try to do something in the community benefit and interest. And I think, you know, that was really the nexus behind our proposal of saying, let's take 2 years of the 10% for affordable housing and dedicate it to this project and try to help them get the state financing that they need with the banks and all that stuff. So,
But
it's
it
an
is
exciting
going
project.
to stay affordable housing
Yep.
forever?
Forever, they're all deeded.
Okay,
They're
any
all-
idea, I mean, when you're talking about what the average house in that is now, what kind of money are we talking about for these people to be able to rent there?
Yeah, it's, you know, it was in the packet with CPA. I don't have the 2024 HUD index right off the top of my head, but I'm probably guessing the median average is probably around 140,000 in Massachusetts. So take 50% of that. So a family, you know, a single person, you know, single mother, for example, maybe with 1 or 2 children, you know, would be eligible. I'm just guessing, by the way, around $70,000 salary would be able to have a house over here, or, you know, a unit. So
At about half the price.
About half the price, yeah. And when you talk about 40% of the median white income, you know, that's a salary for a cafeteria worker, a custodian. Our librarians make that. Okay, so that's who we're talking about here. We're talking about our librarians are making a starting salary roughly in the
No, I
mid-50s to
agree.
late, high 50,000s.
We've been talking.
They're eligible for these units,
Yeah.
which is a little scary in some ways to think that, but that's just where we're at in Massachusetts right now, so.
But Jamie, they're not talking about making this, I'm sorry. My bad.
Councilor Pellegrini has the floor.
Because he was talking about this. Okay, we'll have anything in writing to say that it will stay at that price?
They'll be
I'll write
deeded.
it at the register.
It will,
It's at the registry of deeds.
Registry.
that it'll have to stay affordable
Right.
housing? And then who makes up that decision?
HUD on an annual the federal government on an annual basis puts out a sheet of what the median household value is, and it's a grid, and so you have to look at the grid. You can Google it at home and find it, but it's a grid format based on the amount of people in a family and based on the incomes, and they do it based on 30, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70, 80% of area-wide median income. It's a long sheet, so I can't go through it all, but the units are deeded, and whenever they're built and they're accessed, it's based on that year's HUD determination at the federal level of what those income limits are. So, does that make sense?
Yes, it does, yeah.
I think Attorney Sorrell wanted to add to it.
Yeah, so they went to the zoning board of appeals and got a decision. That decision was then recorded at the registry of deeds, and that has the affordability and perpetuity provision in it.
Okay, good. It sounds so good. Is there going to be a list of people like we do at Central Park Terrace that will be on a list to get the apartments there? Could they do that?
Yeah,
Yes?
yep,
Okay, make a note of that.
Could be a
then, because
lottery too if there's more demand than there are
Right.
units.
right.
I didn't understand. what
Say that
you
again, Mark.
Say-
It could, initially, there will probably be a lottery depending on how much demand there is. And then they have a backup list to that.
But we're, you know, we're a few years away. I mean, they still have to build
Yeah.
the project.
But
get the
just so that
financing.
we're thinking about it now, okay?
Yeah, sure.
You just don't wanna see one jump in front of another and in front of another.
Well, they're not taking a list right now. I mean,
No, of
but,
course not,
you know,
of course not,
yeah.
I know that.
Right.
Sounds terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Get excited when we talk about this stuff. So, Jamie, just for clarification, because there is a difference between affordable apartments and 40B deed restricted homes that people actually purchase.
That's right.
And we're talking about the latter, in this case, for the church property, right?
That's right, yeah.
So it's not people renting, it's people being able to buy, but they're buying at a significantly less rate, and then
Just-
the deed is restricted forever.
It's like a 40B.
Right. But to Councilor Pellegri's question, just to clarify for everybody, those units over time, they do gain a little bit of equity, but they don't gain at the same rate as the market. So
That's
they
correct.
basically stay affordable based on how things move forward, and they're intended for people to stay in for a long period of time.
That's right.
My question to you, Jamie, after that statement, really, is it common for CPA funds in other communities to be used for private projects? Like, meaning this isn't public property, this is owned by, a nonprofit, and we're basically giving money to them to help the cause. I just, wondered if you could speak to that.
Attorney Sorrell.
Medway just put a couple of $1 million of community preservation funds to Metropolitan, which is a nonprofit out of Watertown, and constructed a project in Medway.
Okay. So it does have
It-
precedence.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely has precedent, and, this is probably a more frequent use of CPA money too, because obviously, there's not enough reserves in most CPA accounts to be able to go out and construct, a $60 million building or, et cetera. So this is a pretty typical partnership, especially when you're dealing with nonprofit organizations like Mark's saying in Medway. These folks, Habitat for Humanity is the recipient of the church money, so, This is a pretty frequent partnership.
So when we have talked often about what can the town do to help solve this problem and partner with other groups, then this is really that example.
This is exactly that example.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
This is the winning formula you see right now statewide.
So I have no issue then with the community housing thing. The thing that's I'm stuck on, and you can talk to it if you could please, the historic preservation reserve for the church, where we gave that property, I mean, we already gave it away, right? We gave it away for, if I remember, it was like $1, right? It was
I think it was $100, yeah.
and at, when we had been paying for it for over a decade, and Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit that does their own fundraising, and they accepted the land from us with the provision of the historic preservations and the facade. So I guess I'm just a little bit confused why they're coming to us asking for $100,000 to cover that.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is for the actual historic preservation work on the exterior. If the council had said, we're not gonna preserve any part of the exterior or the facade of the building, then that might be a different conversation. This funds are coming out of the Historic Preservation Reserve, so this is honoring the community's dedication to preserving the facade of the building, as opposed to thinking of it as an affordable housing project, right? So this is actually preserving the historic preservation. If the council said, we don't care about the exterior of the building, you can go cut it up however you want, truthfully, and you can, don't worry about the paint color, don't worry about the windows, the pillars on the front, don't worry about those. We don't care what you do with it, cut it up as you wish. Well, then that would be a different conversation for us in the community. But because we gave it away with the condition that we were gonna preserve the exterior of the building, then what Mass Historic wants to see, which is pretty common as well, and I think we wanna see that as a community, otherwise why are we doing this? This is just continuing a partnership, being grateful and thankful that even one entity was gonna take this project on. If this project didn't get taken on by Habitat for Humanity, the truth of the reality is you'd be tearing the building down.
Plus, it is gonna be an affordable.
And it is gonna be an affordable deed restricted unit, but that's a secondary issue to the fact that the community said, we don't wanna knock it down, we wanna preserve the facade. And there's even in the preservation agreement, we've already received it from Mass Historic, the only place they've asked for us to fill in remaining data is what contribution are we making from the community to help Habitat preserve the exterior of it. It's a 28-page agreement in that. So this is a historic preservation project more than it is an affordable.
Yeah, and I fully respect historic preservation for pieces of property that the town owns, but I feel like, and I'm not against that project, and I think it's great that Habitat took it and wants to do with it. I just don't remember in all of those negotiations that came before us that when we agreed to say, yes, we want to keep the facade and we want to keep the historic look, that also came with a price tag. Because to me, I would think that $100,000 could go toward another project in town that CPA deems worthy, and let Habitat just move forward with the commitment of doing what they're gonna do with that building. But, I can be persuaded, I'm just feeling that one's just sticking with me a little bit. Thank you,
It's a
Mr.
choice of the council.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Do you have something you want to add?
So Habitat builds affordable units, that's their focus. But working cooperatively with the town, and if the town wants to assist financially, then they were willing to package the historic preservation as well as with the affordability.
It's still your issue, and I get it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just a point of information.
yeah.
You said that they're going to be housing, that people can buy them, they're not rented? I was under the impression, in fact, I was with someone the other day that belongs to St. John's Church, that they thought that they were rented, they would be rented. No, okay.
This is a deed restricted unit. It's in
No,
the
I'm
registry.
talking about-
We're jumping,
Sorry,
jumping
sorry,
around
I'm so
here.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm talking
Go back
about
to
Pleasant
Pleasant
Street.
Street.
Oh, are those rentals?
think so.
I think maybe they were rentals.
I think they're
Yeah, on the
rentals.
Pleasant Street
Oh,
project.
Okay, so that's
Okay,
not
Yeah.
what you
well, I
said.
just
My
wanted the
bad, my bad.
information
I'm
brought out, so
getting
they're
confused with
rental
the topics.
units.
Yeah, the St. John's Church, I'm sorry, my head was right into the pillars of the.
Confusing me, confusing me, and it doesn't take much, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor DeLarco.
I think I know the answer, but the St. John's project, it will be Franklin people, right?
Preference.
Preference, Franklin preference,
Right.
right?
Stated-
Not
he's-
not 100%.
No, but if-
Maximum
He's-
permitted by
he's-
law.
But
Right.
that's all I want, because we're giving them money, I wanna make sure that Franklin people get in there first.
You're right.
The builder said exactly what Mark just said at the CPA meeting, that there's a local preference that's allowed under, DHCD and state law. They'll max that out with Franklin residents, yeah.
Okay, no,
Counselor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think all of these projects are wonderful. When we discussed the old meeting house, the church, the Old South Church, we discussed putting a historic preservation on it and allowing Habitat for Humanity to actually apply for CPA funds. That was in our discussions. I will add another person that could actually afford to live at St. John's, and that would be an economic development coordinator from a visiting town. You know, I mean, I couldn't do it on my own right now. So, these projects are really important. They're important for the community. We fought for the CPA to be able to historically preserve all of the buildings in Franklin, and that's what we set out to do. And that's what, we talked about that the whole time we discussed the Old South Church with Habitat for Humanity, because we wanted somebody who would do with that.
it's gonna be a house.
And so I think these are great. The CPC thinks they're great, and they've already vetted all of this, and I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Hamblin. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bobby kind of stole my comment, but in regards to, of course, Pleasant Street and the church, ultimately, ideally, would be keen to have Franklin residents, first in line for that. But I did want to announce to the council, as well as everyone present, that Local 103 IBW, as well as my friend Doug, have already made a commitment to Habitat to Humanities to do the electrical work for the South Church as part of that project. We've actually been doing further projects, not me, but this group has been doing projects on the North Shore, and now they'll have an opportunity to come down and do it on the South Shore at the church. And that's great, because what that actually allows us to do is our apprentices get an opportunity to actually get their hands on it and get dirty, and participate in helping out with projects like this, and that's a great project to do. Other than that, I'm just excited to see these things moving forward. In regards to the $100,000, the way I look at this is, we've struggled over the years to figure out what exactly we could do with this church. And now that we've finally made a decision, Habitat for Humanities is committing to this project, I think it only fair that since we're the ones who kind of put restrictions on this project, that it's only fair that we kind of contribute a part of it. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-27. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Resolution 24-34, rescission of unissued balances of authorizations to borrow. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The text is getting smaller and smaller.
I'm like, which one?
Resolution 2434, rescission of unissued balances of authorizations to borrow. Whereas the town council previously adopted resolution numbers 17-36, 18-18, 20-37, and 20-59, authorizing the borrowing of money to pay costs of various capital projects. And whereas there remains an unauthorized but unissued balance of funds under each of the foregoing resolutions, and whereas the proposed actions will increase town's existing borrowing capacity, whereas the town council now deserves to rescind the authorized but unissued balances remaining under the foregoing resolutions, now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Franklin that the unissued balances of the amounts authorized to be borrowed under the stated resolutions as set forth below, which unissued balances are no longer needed for the purposes for which they were originally approved and are hereby rescinded. Resolution, I'm going to read the resolution, the purpose, the amount, and then the unissued balance, which for all intents and purposes are close, but not the same. So Resolution 17-36, upgrading street lighting systems, amount $650,000 with an unissued balance of $650,000. Resolution number 18-18, new wells, $2 million with an unissued balance of $900,000. Resolution number 20-37-2, school system emergency and remote learning improvements, $1,703,000 with an unissued balance of $1,703,094. 20-37-3, sidewalks, $2 million with an unissued balance of $2 million. Resolution 20-37-4, Remington Jefferson roof boilers, $3 million with an unissued balance of $3 million. 20-37-5, Parmenter boilers and playground, $1 million with an unissued balance of $1 million. 20-37-6, high school remodeling and reconstruction, $1.5 million with an unissued balance of $1.5 million. Resolution 20-37-7, Beaver Street Recycling Center reconstruction, $3 million with an unissued balance of $3 million. And resolution number 20-59, Washington Street, Grove Street intersection improvements, $1.5 million with an unissued balance of $1.5 million. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter. Finance Committee approved unanimously 7-0, sir.
Move resolution 24-34.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
So through you, Mr. Chairman, this is, before we go do the borrowing for Remington Jefferson and Horace Mann, we went back to the books to make sure we cleaned up everything that was either under budget, or the costs have far exceeded what the original appropriation was, or was not needed anymore. So, uptown here, as Councilor Jones just went through the list, the upgrading street light system. We never even paid a public dollar from the taxpayers of Franklin to upgrade every street light to LED in Franklin. That was a long project I was involved with. We got grant funding throughout the whole process. The well came in under budget. And most of the rest of the stuff on this list are either not needed anymore, or more commonly, the estimates that were originally put forth, these estimates are far, far, far away from where they are. I will say on the, Mark and I were just talking a minute ago, with a little bit of hope, the land swap with the recycling center will finally be done at the end of June, and then we can get moving on a solid waste master plan, and then we can start designing out the facility. I've talked to Rep. Roy about trying to maintain the earmark we have in the budget. The Washington Grove Street intersection, we actually got funded through a $3.5 million MassWorks grant, so that technically wasn't needed anymore. The sidewalk line item in there was a borrowing initiative where we had originally wanted to go borrow when interest rates were like 1% or lower, but with a 4% interest rate, we have to go back and recalculate that. Borrowing is an option in the future if interest rates come down, which would be the positive way to be able to really chip away at the issue revolving around sidewalks that Councilor Cormier-Ledger has brought up. Originally, this was in there to deal with that. And obviously, the Parmenter issue is no longer needed. The Remington Jefferson roof and boilers is the next resolution. And the high school remodel, Mr. Chairman, it's been 10 years.
Time flies.
10-year anniversary since the opening of the high school. The superintendent and I are working to try to evaluate now what the needs are. One of the projects in this was the bleacher project, but we have used town ARPA direct funds to pay for that bleacher project. Mike is doing the design right now. We've got some good quotes, and we'll have that under contract by the end of this year. So it's just been a mishmash of stuff, but in order to do the next borrowing, we really needed to clean the books off We recognize there's still some need that are on here, but we're gonna have to go back, particularly the Washington Street sidewalk, which a few people called me today about, by the way.
Too wide.
So the audience last night was listening to the sidewalk issue. That's really the next sidewalk that really needs to make sure that gets done. And then we can certainly, in the operating budget, hope that we can try to get some money for the maintenance issues that many of you have brought up. So it's really a big house cleaning resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for you to the town administrator, again, just for, the public and anyone who's unfamiliar with this, these are capital funds, nothing
Nothing operating.
to do with operational, just to be clear. Because I think sometimes when people see numbers, they think they're, interchangeable. It's like, oh, just move that to operational budget. No, it doesn't work like that.
Can't do that.
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town administrator. Jamie, are these unissued balances, like, is that just money that we had appropriated that we didn't use? Or is it so like we now have this money to use for other things? Or is it just that we didn't end up needing to borrow it?
The latter. So.
So it's not really found money.
No.
It's just cleaning the books.
No,
Okay,
but,
okay.
but to your point, the
That'd be
amount
great.
in the middle column, well, the amount in the middle column was the amount authorized. Most of these, by the way, just for a little nostalgia, was done on the football field in 2020 in June. Remember those days?
I do.
But,
I want to.
but the unused or unissued balance, like in the case of the well, the procurement bids or cost of that or the loan we got from the state was lower, and so we didn't need to use that. So that project in that case came well under budget. The upgrading the lighting system, we ended up triaging grants to do that. We never had to borrow, and then on down the list, you can kind of look at the rest.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-34. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Resolution 24-35, authorizing the borrowing of money to pay costs of various renovations to Remington, Jefferson, and Horace Mann schools. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-35, authorizing the borrowing of money to pay costs of various renovations to Remington, Jefferson, and Horace Mann schools. Whereas the Town Council has been advised of a need to make various renovations to the Remington, Jefferson, and Horace Mann schools. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council that the Town of Franklin that $8 million is appropriated to pay costs of a new roof, fire alarm system, entire mechanical systems, and repaving the parking lot and other interior and exterior renovations at the Remington Jefferson School, including the payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto. And that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer collector, with the approval of the town administrator, is authorized to borrow $8 million under the General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7(1), or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. And 2, that $2.9 million is appropriated to pay costs of a new roof and a new fire alarm system and other exterior and exterior renovations of the Horace Mann School, including improvements and payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto. And that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer collector, with the approval of the town administrator, is authorized to borrow $2.9 million under General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7(1), or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-35.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie.
I think it's hopefully pretty straightforward.
Okay.
These are modern estimates that Mike's gotten recently with good contingency built in, as usual, so pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Attorney Sorrell.
Number 2, the second line is, at the end it says including, that's probably supposed to be approved. This came from bond council, but. That's
What line, Mark?
Number 2.
Including
Horace Mann,
approve
the second
the
line
payment
at the
of.
end, including Where it says improve, it
Yes.
should be
Oh.
approve.
Approve.
Yeah.
Improve.
So if you just make that.
I know,
Makes sense.
that's why I tripped over it.
Any other questions or
That's-
comments? Counselor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Jamie, just for the people at home, so if we approve these, it basically is, the town's gonna take the loans to fund these projects, and the town's gonna take on the interest, but we're not asking the taxpayers for debt exclusions.
That's correct.
So this is, this is good news.
It's straight
in-
borrowing.
In a way, because there was a lot of speculation that these projects were gonna have to go to vote, and were gonna cost the taxpayers even more money. So it's nice to be able to say to people, we're doing these things, on our own.
That's
Right.
right. There was a correction to be made, I think, from last night's meeting and a couple of others. These are not debt exclusions at all. These are not tax increases.
Just straight borrow.
Great.
borrow.
No, I think that's great.
That's
All right,
great.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Plagree.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this probably should have Horace Mann Middle School, not Horace Mann School. Tommy,
I-
right? Isn't that what
I think it was at the time before maybe the redistricting vote, maybe it was just more bland. I mean, there's no other Horace Mann school, but if you want to
But
put
we
it,
have
No, but it
Horace
is-
if you want to put it middle, that's fine.
Yeah, I think if we add middle in, it really does clarify it, so, because you have the Horace Mann Middle School and you have the Oak Street Elementary School, and that's how they,
It's
that's how they
separated.
label.
Sure.
Yeah,
And we did have a Horace Mann School. It
Right.
was,
the Old Town Hall.
uptown, the old town hall.
Is that the one that got knocked down?
Yeah, that was the Horace Mann School.
Yeah. 150 Emmons, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. You have to make an
Okay.
amendment.
Yeah, we can make
All the
that,
way through, make sure you catch them all.
I will,
Yeah.
as long as everyone approves.
yeah. Any other questions or comments from the council?
So it will be,
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-35 with the adjustments that we've just alluded to. Do we actually need to amend it? Or can we just change?
I would just, one amendment that wraps it all up, change that word, and add the word middle to Horace Mann, and
Yeah.
Okay,
Debbie, you want to make the?
I'll make the, yes, that we change, and add Horace Mann Middle School in the heading up there, but then also in paragraph 2, I believe, I don't think I see
then
it.
throughout the resolution.
Throughout the resolution.
and changing the
Improve to
improve to approve.
Changing
Yeah.
improve to approve.
Second.
But you can't do that with an amendment.
That's true.
So, there's a motion and a second on the amendment. Any questions on the amendment?
No.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the amendment to 24-35. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Now the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-35 as amended, requires a majority vote. All those, two-thirds, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Moving on. Bylaw Amendment 24-910, Chapter 82 Municipal Service Fees Bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at Chapter 82 Water Usage Rates. This is the first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-910, Chapter 82 Municipal Service Fees Bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at Chapter 82 Water Usage Rates. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of the Town of Franklin entitled Fees is hereby amended Appendix B as follows. Appendix B, list of water service usage rates effective for bills issued on and after July 1st, 2024. Water usage rates shall be as follows. I'm going to read the CCF, that's the cubic feet. Water usage, and water usage rates for 24, 25, and 26. That would be 7/124, 7/125, and 7/126 for 0 to 15 CCFs. $7.52 as of 7/1/24, $8.12 for 7/1/2025, $8.77 for 7/1/26. For 16 to 40 CCFs, it's $7.92 for 7/1/24, $8.55 for 7/1/25, and at $9.23 for 7/1/26. For 41 and more CCFs, $9.28 for 7/1/24, $10.02 for 7/1/2025, and $10.82 for 7/1/26. This bylaw amendment shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 24-910 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this one quite a bit too. These water rates unfortunately are required to pay for the SRF loans, which the treasurer did announce at the finance committee is a 1.5% loan interest rate, which is killer right now in this marketplace. But also because we're a housing choice community, we get that 0.5% discount. And so this is surety to the state for the loan to build the water filtration plant and the PFAS remediation facility. So we're getting on the road toward the PFAS regulatory requirements, and Brutus is here if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments from the council?
Just keep it.
Seeing none, the vote, seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-910 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Bylaw Amendment 24-911, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees, bylaw to amend the code of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 82, curbside trash fee, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-911, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees, bylaw to amend the code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 82 for curbside trash fee. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of Town of Franklin entitled Fees is hereby amended at letter L as follows. Letter L, curbside trash annual fee, effective for bills issued on or after July 1st, 2024. Curbside trash rates shall be as follows. Department Public Works fee, curbside trash, annual curbside trash, adjusted for fiscal year 2025 from $286 to $336. This bylaw amendment shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 24-911 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Pretty straightforward stuff. I'll just note that this is still less money than it was 21 years ago. I stole Brutus's thunder. You can just move on so he doesn't have to talk. Stormwater's next. You can get him on that one.
Actually, you stole that line from your former town administrator,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Mr. Nutting.
Oh, yeah, that's for
That's
sure.
where it originally
That's
came
right.
from.
Okay.
For sure.
Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you, Jamie, is this cost increase directly related to a larger bill that we're receiving from Waste Management for trash pickup, or is this just the town just hoping to find a little way to make up some extra money? Because $50 increase per quarter, that's $200 to a household, so it's not
Annual.
insignificant.
Annual, that's annual.
Yeah, and,
It's $50 a year.
oh,
$50
$50
year.
for the, it's not, so this, okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's $50 more for the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to address that?
Through you, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Bruce Kennereggi, DPW Director. Yeah, we've been actually, because it's been so volatile, like I've come to you, it goes up. Our waste management fees are the same, and it's a contract that's going through, but what we've had to deal with is the wheelabrator. That's where our trash goes to get incinerated, and the recycling cost. As we said, one time of recycling, we actually get paid $15 a ton for it. Now we actually pay more to recycle than where it's cheaper to burn trash than to recycle it right now. So that's why the cost has gone up. So we've actually been using some of our reserve funds through the years because through estimation, but we've hit a point now we have to raise the cost. And then we got two big things coming up next year, which will be I just gotta say, it's the our contract with Waste Management
I was just gonna
will
ask.
probably be similar, but, you know, because it does have fuel less good. But the big one's gonna be the wheelabrator cost that we've been in, because DEP's been closing all the landfills throughout the state.
Yeah.
And they're not, and it's actually, they actually trying to permit them, but most towns don't want them. So wheelabrator's got a big game right now, so the costs are probably gonna go up substantially. Just that we always, I know you guys like foresight, it's only getting worse, I guess is what I'm gonna say.
Understood.
Right.
Any other? All set, Councilor
Yes,
Coogan.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, to Brutus. Brutus, there's usually two rates, one for a smaller trash container. Are we not doing those anymore, or does that rate not change?
It will,
Okay.
we do have a rate for people, for, folks to get small. It's really not a large number, to be honest.
It's not changing right now.
No.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the same.
So it's not that we've gotten rid of the smaller container, because I
No.
think people should know that they could get a small container
That's right.
and pay less if they don't fill their container up every week.
Correct.
I would like a smaller trash and a larger recycle, but that's okay. I won't get too picky. But I just wanted to make sure that those were still available for people, so like they could save money.
Yeah, they can save money, and the kind of ironic thing is more people ask for another trash.
I know
Yeah,
they
they're
do,
gonna pay more.
but it's gonna,
I know.
it will get to a point, I think,
That's right.
where people will start to say, wait a minute,
Yes,
Right.
maybe we should start thinking about the things we throw away.
you're exactly right.
That's the point, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank-
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Any other questions or comments? Councilor DeLarco?
Well, you can put some in your neighbors and stuff. That's what I do.
No, my neighbors put stuff in mine.
Yeah, that's,
It's always empty. Don't throw anything
You
away.
might wanna
Any
add
other-
only kidding.
only kidding, only kidding.
Any other questions?
That's his legal advice.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-911 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. And the last one of the evening, bylaw amendment 24-912, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees Bylaw, to amend the code of the town of Franklin at Chapter 82, Stormwater Service Charge, first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-912, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees Bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 82, Stormwater Service Charge. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of Town of Franklin, entitled Fees, is hereby amended as letter L as follows. Letter L, Stormwater Service Charge, effective for bills issued on or after July 1st, 2024. Stormwater rates shall be as follows. Department Public Works fee, stormwater service charge, fiscal year 2025 rate to increase from $18.66 to $20.12 per unit. This bylaw amendment shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 24-912 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, very quickly, last but not by no means least, this is just a small increase of about $1.50 per unit, just to keep up with the pace of the unfunded mandate from the federal government. I think as Brutus just mentioned ago, just foresight ahead, we don't have a fully approved phosphorus plan yet, but in the next couple of years, that's gonna be, just like Brutus mentioned about the wheelabrator, the phosphorus control plan that's approved by the EPA eventually. Someone did ask this question last night, when is that coming? I wish I could tell you today, but we gotta work through the EPA first. But this amendment will keep us, up to date with the permit, at least through the next year, and then we'll keep giving the community some updates.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-912 to a second reading. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, one and all. That was a long night of resolutions, for sure. Town Administrators Report.
Just a couple quick hits, Mr. Chairman. Really quick, I want to congratulate Shannon Nisbet. Now the state is making veteran service officers get certified. So I just want to congratulate Shannon, who just officially got certified by the state, which is great news. It delayed some benefits for some folks, and I know Shannon communicated with people, and it's good to know that nothing seemed disrupted, but I just want to congratulate Shannon. I also want to congratulate Karen and Julie McCann in my office. There's an award on the wall over there for Maya Rewards because of our training program. And we won that award 7 years ago because we maxed out our rewards and was a leader in professional development and training statewide. I'm super thrilled to announce that Julie and Karen, with their leadership on the safety committee, and all of our unions participate in that. We maxed out our rewards again, and hopefully we'll get another reward. So congratulations to Karen, who's sitting in the back row with modesty. And Julie is at home with the kids, so she couldn't be here. So we don't on that.
She's not watching.
Oh no, she's watching. She's
Oh,
watching.
watching.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations,
she's watching.
Julie.
She's definitely watching. Just want to congratulate Corey Shea and the Conservation Department for a successful Seed Stroll and Roll event on April 27th at the Sculpture Park. We're taking applications now for art sculptures down there, and we've asked Senator Roush, who's debating the budget right now, for a grant or an earmark for $50,000 to support Corey's work on installing more public art. So hopefully Senator Roush can deliver on some of that to try to help pay artists to do some of this art and work around town. I hope everybody's seen all the other mechanical boxes around town that have gotten painted. So congratulations to Brian Tavener and all that. I would obviously be remiss if I didn't thank Jersey Mike's again for the incredible donation. I sadly could not go to the event, but if you listen to this month's podcast on the Town Administrators Podcast, we had Callie, the mental health clinicians, and Lieutenant Riley on that podcast talking about their new clinician program and what we're doing in the community on that. And finally, huge shout out to the DPW and Carlos Rebello. Just the other day, Amy attended the event, won the annual Public Works Association Professional Manager of the Year in Facilities and Grounds for the year of 2024. So congratulations to Carlos. Trying to make Town Administrators Report a lot more fun and positive, so the staff is now collecting information to try to, in a world of negativity, let's also talk about the really fun things and the little things that are going on that are really, really huge to the community. So thank you for listening, Mr. Chairman, and to the council.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Pellegrini.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, tonight you will be able to be the first one to say some of those
Well,
things.
that's
Rather
kind of
than-
nice. I don't really.
She didn't
have
expect it to happen.
Yeah.
I
He's
just want to
flustered.
thank all of the department heads and everyone about their budgets coming forward. And I think we had a good budget session, and for that reason, I thank each and every one of them. Graduation is coming up, so congratulations to the high school kids. And that's gonna be when? The end of this month.
Is it May 31st? Yeah.
May
31st.
31st?
Oh, wow, early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them. And I know now I'm gonna think of something afterwards. So I'm gonna come back with it, so go right ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm really mixing it up today. Throwing some curveballs.
I found this heart stuck underneath the desk last night through all the budget hearings, and I want to thank whoever left it there. It really made me smile because this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think we all need to be kind and remember that it should be like all year long. Anyways, I don't know if we can we ask about a future agenda item?
We can.
You didn't add them in there?
I
But I
didn't.
just wanted to quickly say, last night, Clerk Danello's request to look at that law to allow flyers to go out. I just want to make sure that maybe we can talk about that at some time. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all the people who participated in the budget, the school committee. the schools, the town, everyone, and the FinCom. They haven't been mentioned yet, so I just wanted to mention them as well. They do all the dirty work line by line for us and make it easier for us, I think, to get through it. Just thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Frongillo.
Sure. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Take some time to reflect on why we get to live in such wonderful places. Next, June 1st, very excited for not only Porch Fest, but also a raising of the Pride flag at the municipal building. If you want to join that, I'm really excited at just what that means for how far the community's come in a short period of time. That's at 10 a.m.
There, thanks.
at the municipal building.
I couldn't remember.
Then I said Porch Fest. I think that's the big stuff. Thanks for everyone who had their hands in this budget.
Thank you, Councilor Frongillo. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I have to say this personally. I know a lot of people have already said this, but thank you to Jamie, your whole team, all the department heads. This book, it takes a lot out of us this budget season. I don't know if you noticed how quiet I was tonight, Mr. Chairman, but I was kind of burnt out. And I just appreciate everything. And a lot more residents, as everyone's noticed, has been diving into this, which means a lot to us and them. The hard part of tonight was these 3 fees. I still call them taxes, but they're fees. And we had to hit the people with 3 more fees. And I think that's a tough time to do it right now, because in 2.5 weeks, people are gonna have their own vote to raise their, well, it'll be taxes. So they're gonna have some power over their own wallet. Tonight, we really didn't have a choice on these. I'm not gonna apologize, but it had to be done. So I just think people need to understand that. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You really want me to go?
Councilor DeLarco. Never asked me that
That's
question.
I know the answer. So I'll try to keep this as short as Kobe. Sorry, Kobe. I have to throw a little bit your way.
Kept
now.
going,
Everyone
yeah.
always picks on me for how long I take. So
You
All
just
right.
added some time to it.
I know, that's awesome. So anyways, all joking aside, I want to thank the veterans. This Monday coming up is Memorial Day, and I can't, my dad was a Marine vet, I can't say enough about how much the vets have done for us, and I appreciate everything that State Rep Jeff Roy talked about last night, supporting our veterans up at the State House, and locally. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to them. That's really important. Everyone remember that on Memorial Day. Mr. Chairman, we didn't do any updates from the subcommittees, but I did want to mention that on next Wednesday, May 29th, the Master Plan Committee will be meeting to discuss continuous discussions on goals and objectives, and we're going to be having our department heads that are going to be kind of giving their input on those. We're going to be having on June 12th a public hearing of the goals and objectives, so we're moving along fairly well. After that June 12th date, there will be an implementation process that will get started, so pretty much we're right on track and going well. And lastly, the Porch Fest, as Kobe was talking about a few minutes ago, I certainly wanted to participate in the Porch Fest this year. I'm sad, being an inaugural year, that I won't be able to participate for 2 reasons. One is my porch is broken. I'm actually in the process of fixing it right now, and I won't be here. I'm actually, next weekend, I will be in Maryland with my Sea Cadets, because my cadets won first place in New Hampshire at the regional competition for STEM sea perch, and they're going down to Maryland to compete internationally against teams from all around the world, from Taiwan and Kuwait and Australia, China, and so on and so forth. This is their STEM ROV initiatives, and hopefully they'll come back. We actually have teams, other cadets from California that'll be joining us on the trip, as well as Gloucester, and hopefully we can come back, at least one of our teams will come back with a winning trophy. It's kind of tough to beat the international teams, but unfortunately I won't be here for Porch Fest. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the other reason you,
I tried to talk
Just get a
myself.
permit to
and the other
fix your.
reason you can't sing? Is that the other piece?
To-
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope everyone's prepared. I do have quite a few things to say tonight, so. I'm just kidding. It really won't take that long. I am excited, though, Councilor Frangillo alluded to, but we've put a lot of work into the June 1st Pride Flag Raising event. It's a collaboration. The Franklin LGBT community is coming together, and everyone's really excited. So I hope folks will join us for that here on June 1st at 10 a.m. I wanted to say I was very sad to hear that Ken Elmore would be leaving Dean. I saw him the other night and shook his hand and thanked him for all of his contributions as president of Dean for the past couple of years. He unfortunately just has met a crossroads and doesn't see eye to eye with his board, and they've made the decision to part ways. But from a community leader standpoint, I couldn't have imagined a better partner. Somebody that's truly embraced the word community, and he'll be staying on through the summer, so I hope everyone has a chance to say hello and thank him. Certainly want to thank our veterans. Looking forward to the breakfast tomorrow morning and the celebrations throughout the weekend for Memorial Day. It's an important time to just stop and remember those that made this ultimate sacrifice. I was the only town councilor to attend the high school awards night last week, along with a couple of school committee members, and just want to say congratulations to all of those kids. Hundreds of Franklin High School students were recognized for athletics, for academics, for music, for art. They got scholarships. One young lady got the scholarship to Dean, $39,000 a year for 4 years. It was an incredible night, and I bring that up because the flip side to us being so excited that we're through the budget season is that we have, some big decisions coming up as a community, as we all know, but about 40 teachers in this current budget are going to lose their job. AP classes are going to get cut. Art classes are going to get cut. Music programs are going to get cut. So all the things that I saw these incredible kids crossing the stage for and being excited are potentially not going to happen because the school department can't pay for it. And it just sat with me as I'm happy for them, but I'm also kind of sad that maybe next year's class won't quite look so excited, and maybe there won't be as many smiling faces in the audience. My final thing that I wanted to say is I apologize if I offended anybody at my last public comments in session when I talked about seniors in town. That was not my intention. I did a whole radio show with Steve Sherlock, and we talked about it. I was truly speaking from the heart and from personal experience with my own parents and grandparents and loved ones. I just wanted people to have a plan and to have those conversations. I was not trying to suggest that our seniors leave their homes or be forced out because of taxes. Councilor DeLorco kidded with me that he'd throw a hammer at me if I suggested that one more time at him. But I just wanted the community to know that if you took my comments that way, I apologize. That was certainly not my intention. And hope everyone has a nice Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor DeLorco.
Oh, jeez. I knew you were gonna come to me when you were looking at me.
I don't say anything.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also would like to thank everybody that worked hard on the budget, all of us. A lot more longer nights than we usually have had in the past years coming up, so. And that was all in good fun, Ted.
I
know. And I agree with Council Cormier Ledger that Memorial Day is for the ones that didn't make it home. Those are the ones that we represent, because if I don't say that, my father would roll over in his grave, unfortunately, but, so I always remember I had a couple of relatives that never made it home from World War II, so those are the ones that I think of on Memorial Day. But I want to also send out my condolences to a good family friend. who got into an accident on Friday night on 495, the Marano family. Louis was a great guy, known him for over 30 years, and his son Anthony got killed in Milford in a car accident. Great people. I saw him 2 weeks earlier. I delivered oil to his house. He was coming out and he said, I said, Louis, I don't see you walking anymore. He used to walk around the whole neighborhood, you know. And he said, I got a bad back. I go, me too. And he goes, how old are you? I go, I'm 63. He goes, oh, you're just a kid. He goes, I'm 90. He goes, I'm the one that should not be walking. I go, yeah. It was a great conversation, and unfortunately it will be my last one. But I really want to reach out to his family, Peter and his wife, his lovely wife, because that's got to be horrible. So send my condolences to them, and I'll be all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Councilor Sheridan.
I disagree with what everybody's said already. And except for the Jersey Mike's, that was a great event.
It was.
And it was another group. It was a volunteer group called where Angels Play.
Angels at the,
And so they started after Sandy Hook and Superstorm Sandy. A firefighters union decided to make a playground, all 26 communities, and each playground was dedicated to one of the 26 people who died, and it was a theme based around them. And now they've expanded it to more people, and they've built playgrounds all around the world, they said.
and it took 3 days.
They came in to go operation of volunteers and did it.
Nice.
Great.
There was like 30 people working, and I went up to see him, not to interrupt, but the best part was, I never saw 30 people work and didn't get into one argument. Honest to God, they just knew what they had to do, and they went out and did it.
Team.
All set, Councilor Sheridan? Okay, just, I'll make it very quick. Just, again, want to thank the administrative teams for great work on the budget. Memorial Day Parade, Porch Fest, a lot of good things coming up for our community, and I hope everyone has a nice weekend, enjoyable weekend, and hope the weather cooperates. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Great job, everybody.
Budget's done. See what happens.
Talking about, Ted, you like